Mr Abbott, I think you've occupied the highest political office in this nation.
Yep.
You know how power is exercised. I want to take you to some recent comments of yours where you compared the proposal for an Indigenous advisory body to the British House of Lords.
Mm-hmm.
And there's perhaps no greater symbol to elitism, frankly, in the United Kingdom than the House of Lords. When I look at the situation here in Australia, where we've got a life expectancy between Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples, at about a gap being about 8 years there. The mortality rate for Indigenous children is twice that of non-Indigenous kids. Fewer than 70% of Indigenous Australians finish Year 12 compared to over 90% of non-Indigenous. You note that there are significant gaps between Indigenous and non-Indigenous Australians when it comes to employment, to rates of incarceration, childhood development, suicide, the list goes on. Can you see why complaining or comparing about an Indigenous advisory body, the purpose of which is to improve outcomes for the most historically disadvantaged and disenfranchised group of Australians, the First Nations people, to the British House of Lords, how that might be considered offensive?
I can appreciate that not everyone likes the comparison, but in this important respect, it's correct. The House of Lords, at least prior to reforms in the late 1950s, was entirely hereditary. And this voice will be hereditary in the sense that to be a member of the voice, you have to have Indigenous ancestry. So to that extent, it is an entirely accurate comparison. Now, I absolutely agree that we do want to do much better by people who are doing it badly. I should make a distinction. Not all Indigenous people are in the same boat. Yes, overall Indigenous people have significantly worse outcomes by many indicators than the rest of the Australian community, but this is vastly more so in remote Australia than it is in non-remote metropolitan Australia, for instance. We absolutely have got to do the right thing to improve life expectancy, to improve employment, improve housing, reduce domestic violence, all those things. But I regret to say to the committee, there is no persuasive evidence that the voice is going to do that. The best thing to improve remote Australia, that all of us, I think, shy away from, the kids have got to go to school, the adults have got to go to work, and the police have got to keep communities safe. Now, we look at what's happening in Alice Springs right now. It's a policing problem. We have two extremely prominent voices, Indigenous voices, Marion Scrimgeour on one side of politics, Jacinta Price on the other side of politics. Their voices have been substantially ignored. They think the grog has got to go out, the police have got to go in. The problem is that politically correct thinking says, oh, no. This is not the result of poor personal choices. This is not the result of bad decisions by government in the last couple of decades. This is the result of intergenerational racism and colonialism. Well, to be honest, this is not the way forward to focus on these sorts of things.